Chen had never felt heavy before. At 16 years old, she stood 2 meters tall, normal for someone born on Mars, where gravity was only 38% of Earth's. Her bones were long and elegant, her muscles lean, her heart smaller and more efficient than her Earthborn parents. She moved through the domed corridors of New Beijing Colony with a grace that would have been impossible on Earth, each step a controlled glide that covered twice the distance it would have in heavier gravity. She was Martian. Born in the red dust, raised under pink skies, shaped by the weak pull of a smaller world. Earth was something from history classes and video feeds, a beautiful blue marble where humanity came from, but not a place she'd ever visit. Until Dr. Okafor gave her the news that changed everything. "It's your heart," the doctor said, her dark eyes filled with sympathy. She was Earthborn, first-generation colonist, her body still thick and compact compared to Kira's stretched frame. The condition is called Martian adaptive cardiomyopathy. Your heart adapted to Mars gravity, it's smaller, beats differently, works perfectly here. But it's developing an electrical irregularity. The signals aren't firing correctly. Kira's mother, Lin, gripped her daughter's hand. "Can you treat it here?" Dr. Okafor shook her head slowly. "The equipment we'd need doesn't exist on Mars. The surgery requires precision that we just don't have the facilities for. We've contacted the medical center at Stanford Earth. They can do it. They've performed this procedure on 3 other Martian-born patients. All successful." "Earth," Kira whispered. The word felt foreign in her mouth. "Impossible." "I know what you're thinking," Dr. Okafor continued. "And you're right. Earth's gravity will be difficult. But there are protocols. Exoskeletons, strength conditioning, gradual acclimation. You won't be going alone." "How long?" Lin asked, her voice tight. "The conditioning would take 6 months. Then 3 months on Earth for the surgery and recovery. 9 months total. 9 months. Kira would miss her final year of school. Miss graduation. Miss applying to the new University of Mars that had just opened in Olympus Colony. 9 months of her life spent on a planet that would try to crush her with every breath. "What happens if I don't go?" Kira asked quietly. Dr. Okafor's expression became grave. "Without the surgery, the irregularity will worsen. Your heart could stop suddenly, without warning. You might have 5 years. You might have 5 weeks. There's no way to predict it." Lin's hand tightened around Kira's. "Then she goes. We both go." But Kira stared at the anatomical diagram on Dr. Okafor's screen, a Martian heart next to an Earth heart. One small and efficient, evolved for low gravity. One large and powerful, built to pump blood against a crushing force. 2 hearts, 2 humanities, 2 worlds that were drifting further apart with every child born under alien skies. "When would I leave?" Kira asked, her voice barely audible. 2 weeks. To start the conditioning program. 2 weeks. 14 days until Kira would begin learning how to be something she'd never been and never wanted to be. Heavy. The gravity chamber in New Beijing's medical center was the closest thing to hell that Kira could imagine. It was a rotating cylinder, 30 meters in diameter, spinning fast enough to simulate Earth gravity through centrifugal force. When Kira first stepped inside, she felt like she'd been dropped into deep water wearing weights. Her knees buckled. Her spine compressed. She couldn't breathe. Her lungs were designed for Mars's thin atmosphere and low pressure, and now they had to work twice as hard to move air that felt thick as syrup. She collapsed within 30 seconds. "That's normal," said Coach Williams, the physical therapist assigned to prepare her. He was Earthborn, stocky and powerful, built like a boulder. Your first time in Earth gravity is always the hardest. But your body will adapt. Humans are good at adapting. Kira didn't feel human. She felt like a broken puppet, strings cut, limbs too heavy to lift. They started with 5-minute sessions. 5 minutes of standing in the chamber, learning to breathe under pressure, feeling every kilogram of her own mass trying to drag her down into the floor. Her heart hammered in her chest, racing, struggling, doing work it had never been designed for. After each session, she would stumble out and collapse on the bench, her entire body screaming. "I can't do this," she gasped after the third day. "I physically can't." Coach Williams sat beside her, patient as stone. "You can. I've trained 11 Martian kids for Earth trips. Every single one said the same thing you're saying right now. Every single one made it. What if I'm different? What if my body just can't? Then we find another way. But we don't quit. Not when your life depends on it." The weeks blurred together. 5-minute sessions became 10. 10 became 20. Kira wore a reinforced exoskeleton that supported her weight, but even with mechanical help, every movement was agony. Her bones ached. Her muscles burned. She developed stress fractures in her legs that had to heal before she could continue. But slowly, impossibly slowly, she got stronger. By week 8, she could walk across the chamber without assistance. By week 12, she could climb stairs. By week 16, she could jog, though it felt like running through concrete. Her body was changing. Her muscles were thickening, building mass she'd never carried before. Her bone density was increasing from the stress and the calcium supplements. She was becoming denser, heavier, more compact. More Earth-like. Her Martian friends noticed. When she met them at the school common area, they stared at her new bulk. "You look different," said her best friend Tarek. He was tall and thin like all Marsborn, his movements the effortless glide of low gravity. Next to him, Kira felt like a stone trying to float. "I weigh 40% more than I did 4 months ago," Kira said bitterly. "All muscle. Have to, or Earth gravity will snap my bones." "Do you really have to go?" Tarek asked for the 100th time. "There's got to be another way." But there wasn't. Kira had researched. She'd asked questions. She'd looked for alternatives until she'd exhausted every possibility. The surgery existed only on Earth, required equipment only Earth possessed, could only be performed by specialists who'd never left their homeworld. If she wanted to live, she had to go to a planet that would spend every second trying to kill her. The transport ship He was designed for cargo, not comfort. Kira and her mother shared a cabin barely 3 meters square, with bunks bolted to the wall and a single viewport showing the shrinking disk of Mars. Kira watched her homeworld fade from a world to a star to a memory. The journey would take 6 weeks. 6 weeks in zero gravity, which meant all her conditioning would deteriorate. She'd have to rebuild her strength when she arrived. But Coach Williams had warned her, better to lose the conditioning than spend 6 weeks in Earth gravity simulation on the ship. That would destroy her. So she floated, weightless, feeling her bones begin to leach calcium and her muscles begin to atrophy. Feeling herself become even more Martian, even less equipped for what awaited her. The ship carried 23 passengers. Most were Earthborn colonists returning home for family visits or business. There were 3 other Marsborn, a married couple in their 30s who'd never planned to have children because they knew their kids could never go home to see grandparents, and an 8-year-old boy named Lucas whose parents were diplomats. Lucas was fascinated by Kira. He'd never met another Marsborn teenager before. "Are you scared?" he asked one day in the common area, his child's voice too loud in the enclosed space. "Terrified," Kira admitted. "Me too." My parents say Earth is beautiful. They say the sky is blue and clouds move and birds fly. Real birds, not drones. Lucas looked at her with wide eyes. Do you think we'll like it? Kira thought about how to answer honestly. I think it'll hurt. I think it'll be hard. I think we'll feel like aliens in the place where humans came from. But we are human, Lucas said, confused. Are we? Kira gestured at her elongated frame, her oversized hands designed for Mars's lower gravity, her lungs built for thin air. Or are we something new? Something that looks human but isn't, not really. Not anymore. Lucas didn't have an answer. Neither did Kira. Earth hit Kira like a hammer. The landing shuttle descended through clouds, real clouds, water vapor thick enough to see, moving across a sky so blue it hurt to look at. Kira pressed her face to the viewport, drinking in colors Mars had never shown her. Blues and greens and whites, a riot of pigments that seemed impossible. Then the shuttle touched down at San Francisco Spaceport, and gravity seized her. Even with the exoskeleton supporting her frame, even after 6 months of conditioning, Earth's gravity was crushing. Kira's knees buckled as she stood. Her spine compressed. She felt like she weighed 1,000 kilograms. Like the planet itself was trying to pull her down into its core. Take it slow, her mother said, but Lynn was struggling too. She'd left Earth 30 years ago as a young colonist full of dreams. Now she was returning as a stranger to her own homeworld. They made their way down the ramp with agonizing slowness. Other passengers flowed around them, earthborn moving with casual ease, their bodies built for this terrible weight. A few glanced at Kira with curiosity or pity. Most ignored her. At the bottom of the ramp, Kira paused and looked up at the sky. It was enormous. On Mars, the domes created an artificial sky, pink, dusty, beautiful in its own way, but contained. Knowable. This Earth sky went on forever, stretching into a distance that made her feel microscopic. The horizon was wrong too. Mars's shorter radius meant you could see the curve. Earth's horizon seemed flat, endless, impossible. Welcome home, said a man in a medical uniform, approaching with a wheelchair. His badge read Dr. Reeves, Stanford Medical Earth. This isn't home, Kira said automatically. Dr. Reeves's smile faltered. Of course. My apologies. Welcome to Earth, then. Kira collapsed into the wheelchair, her legs already trembling from 30 seconds of standing. The shame was acute. On Mars, she was a champion runner. Here, she couldn't walk 30 meters without mechanical assistance. The medical transport van was equipped with a partial gravity reducer, a platform that used electromagnetic fields to counteract some of Earth's pull. Standing on it, Kira felt like she was back in the conditioning chamber at 50% Earth gravity. Still heavy, but manageable. As they drove through San Francisco, Kira stared out the window at a world she'd only seen in videos. Buildings that soared upward because gravity allowed it, because engineers didn't have to worry about atmospheric pressure differential. Trees, real trees, growing from the ground, swaying in wind that wasn't recycled through atmosphere processes. Water everywhere, the bay glittering in sunlight, sprinklers on lawns, rain clouds gathering on the horizon. And people. So many people. Walking easily, running, riding bicycles, moving through the world like they belonged there. Because they did. This was their world, and Kira was the alien. How do you feel? Her mother asked softly. Like I made a mistake, Kira said. Like I should have stayed home and taken my chances. Stanford Medical Earth was a gleaming complex of white buildings surrounded by gardens. Real gardens, with flowers and bushes and grass that grew in actual soil. Kira's room was on the third floor with a view of those gardens, and she spent hours watching sprinklers create rainbows and gardeners tend to plants that would have died in seconds on Mars. The medical evaluation took 3 days. Dozens of tests, scans, consultations. Dr. Sandra Okafor, cousin to Kira's doctor on Mars and the leading expert in Martian physiology, explained the surgery in detail. "Your heart's electrical system has developed a feedback loop," she said, pointing to a holographic model rotating above her desk. "These signals here should fire in sequence, but they're triggering each other. Eventually, that leads to a fatal arrhythmia. We need to go in with microscopic probes and very carefully interrupt that feedback loop without damaging the surrounding tissue." "Why can't you do this on Mars?" Kira asked. "The equipment exists, but the specialists don't. This surgery requires someone who's done it hundreds of times, who can work at the cellular level without a single mistake. We have 3 surgeons on Earth qualified to do it. Mars has none. So Martian kids just have to come here. Have to leave home. Have to be crushed by your gravity." Dr. Okafor's expression was sympathetic but firm. "For now, yes. Maybe in 20 years, Mars will have its own specialists. Maybe the colonies will develop equipment that works in low gravity. But right now, if you want to live, you come here. I'm sorry." The surgery was scheduled for 2 weeks away. That gave Kira time to adjust, to rebuild some of the strength she'd lost during the journey, to prepare mentally for the procedure. It also gave her time to explore, carefully and painfully, what it meant to be Martian on Earth. The first time Kira went to a public park, a child asked if she was an alien. She was sitting on a bench with her mother, wearing her exoskeleton, breathing hard from the effort of walking 300 meters. The child, maybe 5 years old, approached with the fearless curiosity of the very young. "Are you from space?" the child asked. "Mars," Kira said. "That's space," the child confirmed. Then, matter-of-factly, "You look weird. Too tall and skinny. Are all Mars people like you?" "Emily." The child's mother rushed over, mortified. "I'm so sorry, she doesn't understand." "It's fine," Kira said, though it wasn't. "Yes, all Mars-born people look like me. We grew up in lower gravity. Our bodies adapted." "Can you fly?" Emily asked. "In low gravity, can you fly?" "Not fly, exactly. But I can jump really high. On Mars, I can jump 3 meters straight up from standing." Emily's eyes went wide. "That's so cool. Can you show me?" Kira glanced at her mother, then back at the child. "Not here. Earth's gravity is too strong for me. If I tried to jump like that here, I'd break my legs." "Oh." Emily looked disappointed. Then, with the brutal honesty of children, "That's sad. You came all this way and you can't even jump." "Yes," Kira thought. "That's exactly it. I came all this way and I can't do anything." Emily's mother ushered her daughter away, apologizing again, leaving Kira and Lynn alone on the bench. Around them, Earth people moved with effortless grace through a gravity that was slowly destroying Kira from the inside out. "I hate it here," Kira said quietly. "I know, baby. I know." But did she? Lynn had been born on Earth. She'd chosen to leave, chosen to adapt to Mars. But she'd done it as an adult, with a developed body and the knowledge that she could return if she wanted to. Kira had no choice in where she was born. No choice in what her body became. And now she was paying the price for her parents' decision to start a family on Mars. "Did you ever think about this?" Kira asked. "When you decided to have me, did you think about what it would mean for me to be born there? To be made for Mars and Mars only. Lynn was quiet for a long moment. Every day. Your father and I talked about it for years before we decided. We knew you'd never be able to come to Earth easily. We knew you'd be different. But we also knew you'd be part of something new. The first generation of true Martians. People who don't just live on Mars, but are of Mars. I'm of Mars, and I'm dying on Earth, Kira said bitterly. What's the point of being adapted to one world if the only way to save your life is to go to another world that's killing you? The point is you're alive. The point is you're here, and we're going to fix your heart, and you're going to go home and live a long, full life on Mars. If I survive the next 2 weeks, you'll survive. You're stronger than you think. But Kira didn't feel strong. She felt crushed. Broken. Alien. 3 days before her surgery, Kira met the others. Dr. Okafor had suggested it, a support group for Martian-born patients at Stanford Medical. There were 7 of them, ranging from age 8 to 24, all dealing with various medical conditions that could only be treated on Earth. They met in a low-gravity therapy room where electromagnetic fields reduced Earth's pull to Mars normal. The relief was instant and overwhelming. Kira stood straight for the first time in weeks. She could breathe. She could move without pain. Better, right, said a young man named Marcus. He was 24, lean and tall like all Mars-born, with the easy grace of someone in his natural element. This room is the only place on Earth where I feel human. I'm Kira, she said. Heart surgery in 3 days. Lung reconstruction next month, Marcus replied. Mars lungs don't work right here. Too efficient for thick air. Been here 8 months, going home in 2 weeks. The others introduced themselves. Aya, 17, cerebral fluid pressure issues. Chen, 19, bone density problems requiring treatment only available on Earth. Little Lucas from her ship, who had vision problems from his eyes developing in low gravity. They were the gravity children. Born under Martian skies, shaped by Martian physics, now stranded temporarily on a world that was trying its best to kill them. Does it get better? Kira asked. Being here? No, Aya said bluntly. She had deep circles under her eyes, the look of someone who hadn't slept well in months. It gets familiar. You learn to manage. But better? No. Earth is beautiful and terrible, and every day here makes me miss home more. I used to watch vids of Earth, Chen said quietly. Before I came here. I thought it would be amazing. Blue skies, oceans, forests. And it is amazing. But I can't enjoy any of it because I'm in constant pain. Every step hurts. Every breath is work. I spend all my time indoors in gravity-reduced rooms, watching Earth through windows like it's a zoo exhibit. So why do we do it? Kira asked. Why not just stay home? Except that some of us will die young. Marcus shook his head. Because we're the first generation. We're the ones figuring out how to be Martian. And part of that is learning that sometimes being Martian means making impossible choices. Our parents chose to colonize another world. We're living with the consequences of that choice. That's not fair, Luca said, his child's voice cutting through the discussion. I didn't choose to be born on Mars. Why do I have to suffer because of what my parents decided? No one had an answer. Because he was right. It wasn't fair. None of it was fair. But we survive anyway, Aya said finally. We come here, we let them fix us, and we go home. And maybe, by the time our kids are born, Mars will have its own specialists. Its own equipment. maybe the next generation won't have to make this journey. Or maybe, Chen said darkly, they'll just stop having kids on Mars. Maybe they'll realize we're genetic dead ends, adapted to a world so thoroughly that we can't survive anywhere else. The room fell silent, because that was the fear none of them wanted to voice. That they weren't the first generation of Martians, they were the last generation of humans who could still call themselves human at all. The night before her surgery, Kira couldn't sleep. She lay in her hospital bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling Earth's gravity press her into the mattress. Her heart beat irregularly in her chest, the flutter and skip that meant the feedback loop was getting worse. Dr. Okafor said they were operating just in time. Another month and the arrhythmia might have killed her. Kira thought about dying. About what it would mean to die here, on Earth, so far from home. Would they ship her body back to Mars? Or would she be buried here, in alien soil, forever separated from the red dust she was born from? Can't sleep either. Her mother's voice came from the chair beside the bed. No. Too scared. Lin reached out and took her daughter's hand. In the dim light from the monitors, Kira could see tears on her mother's face. I'm sorry, Lin said. For all of this. For bringing you into a world where you can't get the medical care you need without leaving home. For not thinking through all the consequences. Mom. Let me finish. Your father and I thought we were building something beautiful. A new branch of humanity, adapted to a new world. We thought it was progress. But looking at you now, seeing how much pain you're in, how much you hate being here. I wonder if we made a terrible mistake. Kira squeezed her mother's hand. You didn't. Mars is beautiful. My childhood was beautiful. I wouldn't trade growing up there for anything. But it's also terrible, Lin finished. Both things can be true. Both things are true, Kira agreed. I love Mars. I hate that I can't be fully Martian because sometimes I need Earth. I hate that I'm stuck between two worlds, not quite belonging to either one. You belong to Mars, Lin said firmly. You'll always belong to Mars. This is just a temporary exile. Tomorrow they fix your heart, and then in 3 months, you go home. What if something goes wrong? What if I don't wake up? Then I'll take you home anyway, Lin promised. I'll take you home and we'll scatter your ashes in the Vies Marineris at sunset, and you'll be part of Mars forever. But you're going to wake up. You're going to be fine. Kira wanted to believe that. She closed her eyes and tried to imagine Mars, the rusty red landscape, the pink sky at sunset, the feeling of moving through low gravity like flying. Home. Her home. The place she might never see again. At dawn, the surgical team came for her. Part 9, Between Worlds. Kira woke up in pieces. First, sensation returned. Pain in her chest, sharp and localized. The pressure of Earth's gravity, slightly reduced but still there. The sound of monitors beeping. Then consciousness. The knowledge that she was alive, that the surgery had happened, that time had passed. Finally, vision. The hospital room swam into focus. Her mother's face, tear-streaked and smiling. Dr. Okafor checking readings on a screen. Welcome back, Dr. Okafor said. The surgery went perfectly. We interrupted the feedback loop and reinforced the surrounding tissue. Your heart should function normally now. Should. Such a careful word. Such a doctor's word, hedging against certainty. How long? Kira's voice was a rasp. 6 hours. You did beautifully. 6 hours. 6 hours of her life gone, her body opened up and altered by strangers on an alien world. 6 hours during which she could have died and never known it. But she hadn't died. She was alive. Fixed. Changed. Over the next 3 days, Kira recovered in the low-gravity rehabilitation room. She could feel the difference immediately. Her heart beat steadily, no more flutter and skip, no more irregular rhythm. It was strange to feel her heart working correctly. She'd lived with the irregularity for so long that steady felt wrong. "You'll adjust," Dr. Okafor assured her. "Your brain will stop noticing in a few weeks." But Kira wondered if she'd ever stop noticing. If she'd ever stop feeling the tiny changes Earth's doctors had made to her fundamentally Martian heart. The other gravity children came to visit. They brought her contraband, a bag of Martian soil, strictly illegal on Earth due to contamination protocols, but they'd bribed someone, photos from home, a data chip with messages from her friends. "You made it," Marcus said. "One of us made it. That's worth celebrating." They played the messages from Mars. Tarek and the others appeared on the screen, grinning, waving, talking about school and games and the new hydroponics dome that had just opened. They looked so distant. So impossibly far away. Kira realized with a shock that she'd been gone for 8 months. 8 months of her friends' lives had passed without her. "We miss you," Tarek said from the screen. "Come home soon. Mars isn't the same without you." Kira cried. Not from sadness, exactly. From the overwhelming relief of knowing she'd survived. From the ache of homesickness. From the realization that she'd crossed a bridge she could never uncross. She'd left Mars and come to Earth and been changed by it, and she could never be quite the same Martian girl she'd been before. 3 weeks after surgery, Dr. Okafor cleared Kira for limited outdoor activity. "Your heart is healing beautifully," she said. "You're strong enough now to spend short periods in full Earth gravity without the exoskeleton. Just take it slow." Kira's mother had been planning this for weeks, a trip to the coast. Lynn wanted her daughter to see the Pacific Ocean before they left Earth. Wanted her to have at least one beautiful memory from this terrible journey. They took a medical transport van down Highway 1, along California's coastline. Kira stared out the window at cliffs and waves, at water stretching to the horizon, at a landscape so different from Mars it might as well have been another dimension. When they reached the beach, Kira walked slowly across the sand. It was nothing like Martian regolith. This sand was soft, made from ancient shells, shaped by water instead of wind. The ocean roared and crashed, alive in a way Mars's frozen caps could never be. Kira stood at the water's edge, Earth's gravity pulling at her, making every second an effort. But for the first time since arriving, she didn't hate it. The ocean was beautiful. Terrible and dangerous and utterly alien, but beautiful. "What do you think?" her mother asked. "I think..." Kira paused, trying to find words. "I think I understand why humans left here. Why they wanted to spread to other worlds. Because this is amazing, but it's not everything. There's Mars too. And Mars is just as beautiful in its own way. Different beautiful. Strange beautiful. But beautiful. Do you still hate Earth?" "I don't think I ever hated Earth. I hated being weak here. I hated feeling like an alien. But Earth itself..." She looked at the ocean, at the seabirds wheeling overhead, at the sun sparkling on the waves. "Earth is magnificent. I'm glad I saw it. I'm glad I know where humanity came from. But you're ready to go home. More than ready. I need to go home. I need to be somewhere my body makes sense, where I can move and breathe and live without fighting gravity every second." They sat on the beach for an hour, watching the waves, not talking much. Kira collected a few shells, another illegal export, but she didn't care. She wanted something physical to prove she'd been here, that she'd survived Earth. As they drove back to the hospital, Kira looked out at the Earth landscapes rolling past and tried to memorize them. Because she knew, with absolute certainty, that she would never come back. This was her one visit to humanity's homeworld. Her one chance to see where her species came from. And when she left, she would leave forever. 1 month before Kira was cleared to travel home, Dr. Okafor called her in for a consultation. "There's something we need to discuss," the doctor said, her expression serious. "Something about your future." Kira's heart, her newly repaired heart, skipped a beat. "Is something wrong? Did the surgery fail?" "No, nothing like that. The surgery was successful. But I need to talk to you about having children." Kira blinked. "I'm 16. I'm not thinking about children. Not now. But someday. And you need to understand the implications." Dr. Okafor pulled up a genetic model on her screen. "You're second-generation Martian. Both your parents were Earthborn, but you were conceived and born on Mars. Your body adapted to low gravity in utero and throughout your childhood. You are, physiologically, a different subspecies of human." "Subspecies," Kira repeated. The word felt clinical. "Cold. If you have children on Mars, with another Mars-born individual, those children will be even more adapted to low gravity. Third generation. Their bones will be even longer, their hearts even smaller. And the difference will compound with each generation. So eventually, Martian humans won't be compatible with Earth humans anymore. You could have a child with an Earthborn person now. But your grandchildren might not be able to. The genetic drift will be too extreme." Kira stared at her. "Are you saying that Mars humans and Earth humans are going to become different species?" "Over generations, yes. That's the trajectory we're on. Unless there's constant genetic mixing between the colonies and Earth. And even then." Dr. Okafor shrugged. "Evolution doesn't stop. Adaptation doesn't stop. Mars is shaping you into something new. Something that can never come to Earth," Kira said slowly. "I'm second generation and I barely survived this trip. What about third generation? Fourth? Will they even be able to leave Mars at all? Probably not. Not without life-threatening risk. Mars will become a one-way trip for anyone born there." The implication settled over Kira like a weight. She and everyone like her, all the gravity children, all the Mars-born teenagers and kids, they were pioneers in a way they'd never asked to be. The first generation of humanity permanently separated from Earth by their own biology. "What am I supposed to do with this information?" Kira asked. "Live your life. Go home to Mars. Be healthy. Be happy." Dr. Okafor's expression softened. "But understand that you're part of something unprecedented. Humanity has never diverged into separate populations like this before. Not really. We've always been able to come together, to interbreed, to remain one species. But Mars is changing that. Is that bad? I don't know. Ask me in 100 years. Dr. Okafor smiled sadly. "But I wanted you to know. To understand what you're part of. You're not just Martian. You're the future. A future that looks very different from the past." The Zhenghe broke orbit from Earth on a clear morning. Through the viewport, Kira watched the blue marble shrink. She felt no sadness at leaving. Only relief. Only joy. Only the fierce anticipation of going home. The 6-week journey back was different from the journey out. Kira floated in zero gravity, but this time she wasn't losing strength she'd need. She was recovering from the gravity that had almost destroyed her. Her body eagerly shed the extra muscle mass, returning to its natural lean state. Her bones stopped aching. Her heart beat steadily, easily, happily in the absence of crushing force. She watched Earth recede to a point of light. She watched Mars grow from a red star to a rust-colored disk to a world. Her world. When the landing shuttle descended through Mars's thin atmosphere, Kira pressed her face to the viewport and cried. The rust-red landscape had never looked so beautiful. The pink sky at sunset was more gorgeous than any Earth ocean. The domes of New Beijing Colony glittered like jewels on the Martian plain. The shuttle touched down with barely a bump, so gentle in low gravity, so different from Earth's crushing arrival. The airlock opened, and Kira stepped onto Martian soil. The gravity embraced her like an old friend. She could breathe. She could move. She was light, she was free, she was home. Her father was waiting at the arrival gate, Dr. Chen, microbiologist, first-generation colonist, the man who'd helped terraform Mars's soil. He grabbed her in a hug that lifted her off the ground, possible in Mars's low gravity, impossible on Earth. "My girl," he said, his voice choked. "My brave girl. You made it." "I made it," Kira agreed, crying and laughing at the same time. Tarek was there too, and half her school class, and people she'd known her whole life. They'd organized a welcome home party. There were banners and music and food from the hydroponics domes, fresh vegetables that tasted like home in a way Earth food never had. Kira moved through the crowd easily, gracefully, her body remembering how to be Martian. She jumped and nearly hit the ceiling, and everyone laughed. She ran through the corridors at a speed that would have broken her legs on Earth. She breathed the thin, recycled air, and it was perfect. How was it? Terrible, Kira said. Beautiful and terrible. Like visiting an alien planet that happens to be where humans came from. Did it change you? Kira thought about that. Yes. But not in the ways I expected. I went there thinking I'd learn about Earth. Instead, I learned about Mars. About what it means to be Martian. About who we are and who we're becoming. And we're not Earth humans anymore. We're something new. Something adapted to this world. And that's okay. It's actually beautiful. 6 months after returning, Kira stood in front of her history class and gave her presentation on Earth. She'd been asked by her teacher to share her experience, not the medical details, but the cultural ones. What was it like to visit humanity's homeworld as a Martian? Kira had spent weeks preparing. She'd curated photos and videos, written and rewritten her speech, tried to capture something impossible, what it felt like to be alien on Earth. Earth is the most beautiful planet I've ever seen, she began. It has oceans that stretch forever. Forests with trees that have been growing for centuries. Animals that evolved over billions of years, real animals, not genetically modified ones like we have here. The sky is blue. Clouds move. Rain falls from the atmosphere instead of being carefully dispensed by irrigation systems. Her classmates listened, rapt. Most of them had never been to Earth. Many never would. But Earth is also deadly. To us, anyway. The gravity is crushing. Every step feels like running through concrete. Every breath is work. Your spine compresses. Your bones ache. Your heart has to pump twice as hard. And the people there, the Earth humans, they move through this environment effortlessly. To them, it's normal. To us, it's torture. She paused, letting that sink in. I spent 9 months on Earth. 3 months there were the worst experience of my life. I was weak. I was in constant pain. I couldn't do any of the things I can do here. I couldn't run or jump or even walk comfortably. I felt like an alien pretending to be human. But here's what I learned: we are aliens. Not to Earth, but to each other. Earth humans and Mars humans are diverging. We're becoming different. And in a few more generations, that difference will be so extreme that we won't be the same species anymore. Murmurs ran through the classroom. Their teacher, Professor Martinez, leaned forward with interest. Is that bad? Kira continued. I don't think so. I think it's evolution. Humanity has always adapted to new environments. For most of history, those adaptations were cultural or technological. But now, for the first time, we're adapting biologically. Mars is making us into something new. She brought up a genetic chart on the classroom screen. This shows the differences between Earth humans and Mars humans. Second generation, like me, we're already distinct. Our bones are longer. Our hearts are smaller. Our lungs are more efficient. Our muscles are leaner. We can live in low gravity and thin atmosphere without technology. Earth humans can't do that without years of adaptation. Third generation will be even more different. And fourth. And fifth. Eventually, Mars humans will be a separate branch of humanity. Homo Martianus, maybe. Humanity of Mars. Some people think that's scary. That we're losing what makes us human. But I think we're gaining something. We're becoming the first humans who truly belong to another world. Not colonists. Not settlers. But natives. Children of Mars. She looked out at her classmates, tall, lean, graceful, all of them shaped by the same forces that shaped her. We're the gravity children, Kira said. Born under light gravity, adapted to thin air, shaped by a world that's not Earth. And maybe we can't go back to Earth easily. Maybe we're trapped here in some ways. But this is our world. We're not Earth humans living on Mars. We're Martians. The first true Martians. And that's something to be proud of. The class erupted in applause. Professor Martinez was smiling, tears in her eyes. After class, several students approached Kira with questions. What did Earth food taste like? How blue was the sky really? Did she see any wild animals? But one student, a girl named Sarah, asked a different question. Are you glad you went? Even though it was so hard. Kira considered this carefully. Yes. Because now I know what I am. I'm not an Earth human who happens to live on Mars. I'm Martian. This is my home, my world, my gravity. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. 2 years after her surgery, Kira graduated from secondary school with honors. She'd been accepted to the University of Mars, to their xenobiology program. She wanted to study how life adapted to different environments. She wanted to understand, on a molecular level, what Mars had done to her and everyone like her. The graduation ceremony was held in the new Central Dome, a massive structure that could hold 5,000 people. Kira stood with her class, 217 students, all of them Mars-born, all of them tall and lean and graceful in the low gravity. You are the future, said Director Chen in her commencement speech. The first generation born on Mars who will live your entire lives here. The first true Martians. You will build our world. You will shape our culture. You will define what it means to be human on Mars. Kira looked around at her classmates. Some would become engineers, building the new domes and infrastructure. Some would become scientists, unlocking Mars's secrets. Some would become artists, creating culture unique to this world. Some would have children who would be even more Martian than they were. And some, like Marcus and Aya and the other gravity children Kira had met on Earth, would face medical challenges that required them to leave home. They would make the terrible journey to Earth, be crushed by gravity, be fixed by alien doctors, and return home changed. That was the cost of being a pioneer. Of being the first. But it wouldn't always be this way. Already, Mars was developing its own medical infrastructure. Training its own specialists. Building equipment designed for low gravity. In 10 years, maybe 20, Martian kids with heart problems wouldn't need to go to Earth. They could be treated at home. In 50 years, Mars would be truly independent. A world with its own culture, its own science, its own subspecies of humanity. And in 100 years? 200? Kira wondered if Earth and Mars humans would even recognize each other as the same species. Would they speak different languages? Have different values? See the universe through fundamentally different perspectives shaped by their different worlds? Maybe. Probably. But that was okay. That was evolution. That was progress. After the ceremony, Kira's family gathered for a celebration. Her parents, now both in their 60s, still working on Mars's terraforming project. Her little brother Chen, born 5 years ago, already showing signs of being even more adapted to Mars than Kira was, longer limbs, more efficient lungs, a heart that beat differently than any Earth heart ever had. "I'm proud of you," her father said, hugging her. "Not just for graduating. For surviving. For going to Earth and coming back and not letting it break you." "It almost did break me," Kira admitted. "But I'm glad I went. I needed to see Earth to understand Mars. To understand myself." Her mother squeezed her hand. "What you said in your history class about being Martian, not Earth humans on Mars, that spread through the whole colony. People are talking about it. Thinking about it. You started a conversation about identity that we needed to have." "What conversation?" "About who we are. What we're becoming. Whether we're still human or something new." Lin smiled. "You gave people permission to embrace being different. To be proud of being Martian." Kira looked out through the dome at the Martian landscape, rust-red plains stretching to the horizon, Olympus Mons visible in the distance, the pink sky fading to purple as the sun set. This was her world. Her home. Her gravity. She was Martian. She would always be Martian. And that was enough. Dr. Kira Chen stood in her laboratory at the University of Mars, looking at the genetic sequencing on her screen. She was 66 years old now, a leading expert in adaptive biology, the author of 3 books on how humans were evolving to match their environments. On her screen was the genome of a 4th-generation Martian child, her granddaughter, born 3 weeks ago to Kira's daughter. The differences were striking. This child's bones would be even longer than Kira's. Her heart even smaller and more efficient. Her lungs perfectly adapted to Mars's thin atmosphere. She would never need supplemental oxygen. Would never need environmental suits to work outside the domes for short periods. She would also never be able to go to Earth. Not without years of preparation and tremendous risk. Her body was too specialized, too perfectly adapted to Mars's low gravity. She was completely, utterly Martian. Kira saved the genetic data and stood, moving with the easy grace of someone who'd spent 66 years in low gravity. She walked to the window of her lab and looked out at New Beijing Colony, now a city of 50,000 people. Beyond the domes, she could see the new settlement spreading across the Martian plain. Mars was thriving. Her tablet chimed with a message. It was from Earth, from Dr. Sandra Okafor, now retired but still corresponding with Kira about their shared research into human adaptation. Kira, I saw your latest paper on fourth-generation Martians. Congratulations on your granddaughter. She represents everything we hoped for when we started this project, a human truly adapted to life on another world. Earth is debating whether to officially recognize Martian humans as a separate subspecies. Homo sapiens martius. I know many Martians find the classification offensive, but scientifically, it's accurate. You're not Homo sapiens sapiens anymore. You're something new. I'm old now, Kira. I won't live to see how this story ends. But I'm glad I got to be part of its beginning. Glad I got to help you when you needed Earth's medicine. Glad I got to watch you become one of Mars's leading scientists. You asked me once whether it was bad that Earth humans and Mars humans were diverging into separate species. I told you to ask me in 100 years. I won't be here in 100 years, but I can tell you now, it's not bad. It's beautiful. Humanity is doing what it's always done, adapting, changing, becoming something new in response to new environments. You're not losing your humanity by becoming Martian. You're expanding what humanity can be. With admiration and affection. Sandra. Kira read the message 3 times, tears in her eyes. Then she looked back at her granddaughter's genome, at the proof that Mars was creating a new branch of humanity. She thought about that 16-year-old girl who'd been terrified to go to Earth. Who'd felt crushed by gravity and alienated by her own homeworld. Who'd come back to Mars and realized she was exactly where she belonged. That girl had been right to be scared. Right to resist. Because Earth wasn't home. Mars was home. Mars had always been home. And now, 50 years later, Mars had 3 million inhabitants. Most of them were second or third generation, shaped by Martian gravity, breathing Martian air, living Martian lives. They were building universities and hospitals and art galleries and families. They were creating a culture unique to this world. They were Martian. And in another 50 years, when Kira was gone and her granddaughter was old, Mars would have 10 million people. 20 million. 50 million. A whole new branch of humanity, adapted to a new world, carrying human consciousness to a planet that had been dead for billions of years. That was worth the pain. Worth the struggle. Worth being crushed by Earth's gravity for 9 terrible months so she could come home and live a full life on Mars. Kira pulled up her comms and sent a message to her daughter, "Come over for dinner tonight. Bring the baby. I want to hold my granddaughter and tell her about the Earth she'll never see." Then she went back to work, cataloging the ways humans were changing, documenting the evolution of a new species, helping ensure that the gravity children and their descendants would thrive on this red world under pink skies. She was Martian. They were all Martian. And Mars was just beginning.